You may never have heard of this because for whatever reason, Dungeon Fighter Online has never been a big game in the West.
Yeah, it's
but Dungeon
popular in
Fighter
China,
Online
I think, right?
is the literal highest grossing video game, according to a wiki anyway, in the world. Dungeon
Holy
Fighter
shit.
Online. Gross US
Bro, and
dollar
it's beating the fuck out of these other games. Look at that, $20 billion?
$20 billion.
Space Invaders.
$20 billion. Next highest is Pac-Man. Imagine that fucker. Pac-Man, 12.8 billion. Obviously, that's adjusted for inflation, 19 billion.
Yeah.
But Dungeon Fighter Online, Korean MMO, it has a very interesting story of how the game was initially created. Not going to bore you with that one, but I have a video on my channel going over the history of MMOs from the very beginning.
Sure.
Didn't really get a whole bunch of views, but I think if you are interested in the genre and games like this that sort of flew under the radar for a lot of people, it's mad interesting where stuff like this came from and how it actually existed.
Yeah,
but basically, somebody working for Dungeon Fighter Online was generating gold and selling it as real money trading on the black market, grey market, whatever we're going to call it.
I guess after they get out of jail, they can go work at Blizzard.
RMT, real money trading. And he generated 7 billion gold, or 7 trillion gold, I think, actually, which was then sold for $2.4 million. So he was having a grand old time. And this is interesting to me, at least, because for many years, playing games all the way back in the early 2000s, there's always been rumors of developers generating gold and selling it. Generating items and selling it.
It's actually so bad for a game. Like, here's the thing, is that, like, if a game you can buy and sell gold in the game, like Lost Ark, I don't care what people do. If people cheat in the game or they're botting in the game, I don't care. Because it's a pay-to-win game. And I feel like if a game has pay-to-win inside of it, nothing else in the game matters. There's no integrity. There's no value to any accomplishment. Everything is just pay-to-win trash. And you want to play it and enjoy yourself, good for you. But it is still just pay-to-win, right? And so I don't really care. However, if he's doing it against the rules of the game, then that's totally different. And also, like, it really, really makes a game look bad, because now, like, any time that anything happens or somebody gets a lot of gold, people will always have that in, like, the back of their mind.
Specifically in smaller games, if you've ever played some of the sandbox PvP
I think
MMOs,
about what happened, for example, with RuneScape and, like, all the drama with, like, their mods.
Mortal Online, Darkfall Online in particular, Darkfall Unholy Wars. This was a big thing, and I obviously knew a lot of the GMs in the game because I was quite clicked up, I guess, back then in those games. And this was something that people talked about all the time, that people were basically making items and selling them to the real money trading crowd.
Jesus.
Just a good old bit of corruption. And we know, for example, that people were doing this anyway that weren't developers. I have another video on that where a guy essentially made a living for like 20 years just hacking MMORPGs. He would log in.
Man. Like, yeah, I mean, again, like, if you're cheating in a pay-to-win game, like, is it possible to cheat in a pay-to-win game? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I say I don't give a fuck about it. Not really, yeah, not really.
An MMO, he'd figure out how he could best pack it, edit, and give himself money, duplicate items, things like that. And then he would just corner the market, put everyone out of business because he could sell gold cheaper because he was making it out of thin air, even cheaper than bots could. And he was selling, you know, billions of currency across these games for years and years. And eventually he obviously stopped, and now he is a white hat, apparently. But it's really interesting to see, but it's cool to see we have a confirmed case here of a dev presumably going to go to prison for this.
He definitely should go to jail for it. I mean, like, I don't know if jail or not. It's hard to say, but he should get fined for it. They should get into it. Like, I bet, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I bet the reason why he's going to jail is that some of the taxes on this money didn't get paid. Because every single time that I hear about one of these situations and somebody actually faces real life consequences, every time it's because it's not because they made the money, it's because the government didn't get part of the money that they made. That's what I'm betting.
Fraud in his company, I guess. Is it fraud? We'll find out. What are they calling it? It seems like South Korea in general.
But like, the thing is, though, like, you think about it from this perspective, is that, so if somebody is cheating in the fucking game and it's making the, like, because no doubt whenever this happens in a game, it devalues people's accomplishments in the game if they know that devs are just giving out free shit to people who spend money. So like it absolutely harms the integrity of the game. And if the integrity of the game is part of the value proposition of people spending money on the game, well then this guy did tangible damage to the game. I mean, fuck, I think that's pretty simple, right? So yeah, I mean, they definitely have grounds to sue him. What integrity? Well, what I mean is that even though I don't care about people doing cheating and pay to win games, other people do, because they're like, this is how they see it, is that they're like, well, I spent $150 and I got 100,000 gold, but this guy spent $10 and he also got 100,000 gold. This isn't fair. So yeah, potential losses are hard to prove. Yeah, but like, is it really a stretch? I mean, really, anybody that's playing games, right, knows that like, it's the same as like cheating in FPS. I think FPS is like the best example. Like, y'all know how corrosive it is whenever an FPS starts to get cheaters, and then everybody goes from like, man, that guy was cracked, to like, oh, that guy was cheating. And like, you never know whenever you watch a kill cam if you're playing against somebody who's like a really good player or somebody who's a cheater. It completely kills the entire integrity of the game, and I think it does it does harm the game in a real way.
Is sort of the land where
Warzone's
a lot of
one.
Weird game stuff happens, because as far as I'm aware, they're the first place, I don't think it's happening in the West, where a game developer, multiple of them, have gone to prison for stealing files or trade secrets from another game company, which happened when Terra was made. Seems like it's all about those MMOs. Look, people love going to prison in South Korea about MMOs, apparently. Now that is a good coffee. I'd like to inform you of an anomaly that was discovered during our monitoring of DFO's in-game economy and the steps we've taken to address this issue. Some adventurers may be aware of the incident of gross misconduct that happened within the Korea service for Dungeons and Dungeon and Fighter in September 2020. Since this incident, we've been examining and updating our internal security procedures on a regular basis. It is with regret that I inform you that during our monitoring activities, we tracked similar activities within Dungeon Fighter Online. We detected an account that held an unusual amount of a particular item, and upon further investigation, we confirmed that administrative item
is so ambiguous. I love it.
Rights had been exploited. Before I proceed, I'm deeply sorry for this sudden announcement that understandably comes as a shock to our community. One thing people generally don't tend to understand, and I went through this in the video about the guy who hacked currency in games. When a company, for example, sells currency within their game, it's usually because the player trades something that's generated by the company from the cash shop that is consumed on their account, so can't be traded, and they give the money to the person who bought that, essentially, and that gold was generated from playing the game. Yeah. So it's not inflationary. This is something that people...
It's just like, WoW, like, effectively, like, you're already saying, right? It's like they're just providing a tool, like WoW tokens, Like, WoW tokens don't create inflation unless you believe, like, some conspiracy that, like, Blizzard is, like, just selling WoW tokens out of thin air, which is, like, maybe, but, like, assuming that they're not, because you're buying gold from another player.
Always miss, because they think, for example, the WoW token in World of Warcraft is harmful to World of Warcraft's gold economy, which isn't, in terms of there's no...
you could make an argument that it could be if it influxes gold from like a very popular server into a less popular server, because they're going to have different economies. Like, there is a level of impact that's going to have, but it is extremely minimal. Like, he's right. He's overall right, but there is like a couple of like fringe cases.
Inflation there.
But
Blizzard
a lot of it's
generate
now
gold
anyway.
out of thin
You're
air.
right.
It comes from a
Especially
person who earned that gold in some way or bought the gold in some way, but it came from a legitimate generation within the game. When somebody just generates stuff just out of thin air, actual currency or items that can be traded and things like that,
the only people that can do that are the Federal Reserve.
Inflationary, and it literally ruins games. Like, it ruins games really quickly. That's why hacks, exploits, and duplications are way worse in general for the actual average player, because they're going to be the ones who feel the creep of things being worth more money. And obviously, if they're earning the same amount of money, it essentially gets to be where you have to play more to be able to buy the things, and it makes it so other people are forced into doing things like buying gold and things of that nature. So it actually straight ruins the game on a pretty visible level when people do things like this. That's why.
And this is what happened in WoD whenever they added like all these like garrison gold farms, like raw gold farms. That's why Blizzard, like, that's what they really try to avoid, is having raw gold farms. Because raw gold farms are, like, just money added into the economy with no... Like, the idea of, like, how a video game economy is supposed to work is that there is currency and then there are also items. And items are being generated at a rate that is equivalent to the currency. So the currency can be used to buy the items, but because more currency is being obtained, it's okay because more items are also being generated. So whenever you remove one or the other, that's whenever you have the price difference. You know, you either have the prices go up a lot if you remove the items, or you have the prices go down a lot if you don't.
It's a fucking huge deal. So last year we learned that a previous member of the DFO team had misappropriated an operations account used for processing CS requests, customer service, starting from 2020 to November 2022. The employee exploited the account's administration rights and created items with high gold value. These items were then sold through NPC shops on an alternate personal game account and converted into gold for real money trading. The value converted from these unauthorized items has been confirmed to be near 7 trillion gold.
Jesus. Holy that's insane. That's more than the GDP of most countries.
Damn.
Oh my God.
Immediately after detection, all related administrative rights were promptly revoked. The in-game accounts used for the crime was sanctioned because this is a crime. I'm pretty sure this person's going to go to prison for this one.
Well, yeah,
and recovery
I mean, they definitely committed a crime by like violating the contract of their employment. Yeah, for sure.
Measures were carried out to prevent further distribution of the gold. We reported our findings to the authorities and continued to identify the owner of the game account in question. Although we had been regularly monitoring the game's economy and gold production status even prior to the incident, the gold in question had been masked and stored in the form of items from outdated content.
Which makes
These
sense.
items were then converted in small amounts over many instances, which went undetected by the monitoring system that was in place at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how their system works, and I know this is like a difficult thing to monitor, and the game's really old, so the chances that they have a very sophisticated way to track gold, like gold into economy versus gold out of economy and things like that, is more slim than some other more modern products that have been developed with this in mind. But this,
I don't think that there's necessarily, like, there could be, for example, like a lot of these games have like numbers in the billions and trillions regularly. So, like, 7 trillion might sound like a lot, but there's a good chance that in this game, it's actually not a ridiculous amount of gold or a ridiculous amount of money. So, what the truth is that, like, it is a lot of money, but whenever you compare it to the global economy of the game, you're not really going to see the difference.
Sounds like a little bit of cope that we have all these sophisticated systems, but we just couldn't track the fact that 7 trillion gold came into the system within 2 years, not by legitimate means. Yeah. I would have thought that would have been apparent, but again, if it was done in a very smart way that somebody who worked at the company knew how to evade their detection,
of course, yeah.
That would make sense as well. So the offender's extensive knowledge of internal security systems allowed them to further evade detection for an extended period, as continuous measures were taken to fortify security processes after the KDNF incident. The anomaly was eventually detected. Even so, we are fully liable for the time it has taken to detect the activity, and we sincerely apologize.
Yeah, of course.
Owning it, I guess. They're owning it. Legal actions were promptly taken upon discovering the activity last November. Our priority was to notify our community immediately. However, we received legal advice to keep in confidence all information, as a premature announcement would have affected the proceedings of the ongoing investigation. This is completely reasonable, completely makes sense. The community does deserve to know, but you do want this person to face action for what they've done. Is a literal crime, and this game's been going for a long time. It's a mad money generator, obviously, one of the, if not the most profitable game on the planet. So this is totally understandable. One thing I will say is that it seems like the Korean audience is generally pretty good at boycotting things when stuff's handled poorly. I don't know what their reception has been to this, because Dungeon Fighter is still very big in Korea, so I can't really comment on that. But
I don't think this is necessarily the fault of the developer. Like, I mean, unless it's like this is like one thing among like 50 other things. Like, I mean, if you have a rogue employee and somebody like this does something bad, I mean, shit happens, man. Like, this stuff happens in the government. It happens everywhere. It's not like it's really their fault. Like, yeah, they could have probably had better checks and balances. Things could have improved, but you can never prevent every single negative thing like this from happening. Yeah, I wouldn't take it out on the company. Yeah, I don't know.
Would be interesting to know. I guess one thing we can look at is the rankings for Korea's PC banks, which is pretty good information. Dungeon Fight is 13th. Oh, so no, it's not really hurt it whatsoever. It's gone down a couple places, but that would also be accounted for some other games coming out, like BDO getting really popular. So this hasn't impacted Dungeon Fighter in Korea, at least on the surface level that we can see. The situation was one that required rapid yet discreet measures, and due to the sensitive nature of the matter, our official notice was postponed until today. The offender has admitted to their crimes during the first trial held in Korea. Consequently, we received confirmation that public notice would no longer affect the case, which has allowed us to make the announcement. Oh yeah, this dude's going to prison. Big time. I'm truly sorry to our community, especially as this was a...
Yeah, I feel like if he did a little bit of money, it probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. He might not have gone to jail. But like $2.4 million, you're getting a little bit greedy, you know? Like, that's a lot of fucking money. Holy shit.
Organised act of deceit by a former member of the DFO team. We condemn this criminal activity, and we are taking uncompromising legal action with a policy of zero tolerance. We'll make certain that the offender faces the consequences that befit the severity of their crime. I wonder how long you get in prison for this in Korea. Who knows?
I don't know. Probably 3
I guess we'll find out eventually once this actually concludes.
That's what I'd kind of assume.
The people who misappropriated trade secrets to create terror, they ended up getting, like, I think the main guy got a couple years. This is probably worse than that, and seems like a more open shot, as well as admitting to have done it. But I don't know how many years you're going to get for doing something like this. Lastly, my predecessor, who was in charge at the time of the incident, has taken responsibility for this issue, which led to my succession of managing the DFO service.
Jesus.
So he's just got a promotion because his manager failed to find the issue. As live director, I'm fully committed to managing our systems and work processes to prevent similar problems going forth. I'm determined to do everything in my power to provide a better...
I think you can never stop something like this from happening 100%, but you can get pretty close to 100%.
Game service and to rebuild the trust our community has in us. So we're aware that this incident may have affected the individual gameplay of our users. It definitely has. That sum of money, it definitely would have impacted people whether they know it or not. And have decided the compensation was necessary with our apology. For adventurers who have been playing DFO with sincerity and the best intentions, these items are given not because we expect it to alleviate disappointment or mitigate the severity of the incident, but as part of our deepest apologies for something that should not have happened. And then they just go on to apologize. So this is really, I guess, cool to see, because, like I say, I've played MMOs for so long that people have said, like...
I feel like they have to say something about this. Because, again, it's like game integrity. Like, with video games, especially like online live service games that you want people to spend money on regularly and care about progress in, the moment that you damage that integrity is the moment that nobody cares about the game anymore. Because, like, why would you spend money on a game where the devs are just selling gold?
Oh, there's a rogue dev that is in charge of all of the
That's just how people
RMT. That's why there's gold being sold for way cheaper than what you could possibly make money from, even if you're a cutting-edge player that's doing everything and exploiting the fuck out of the game as well. It's because they don't have a cost. They don't have a hour per gold or whatever associated with the stuff that they're making out of thin air.
Yep.
Now, this could have been people like the guy who hacked video games for a living for 20 years, or it could be developers. And at this point, I think that's a bit of a conspiracy, but at the same time, when things like this...
I think it's way different if it's somebody who's like an outside hacker versus somebody who works at the company, right? I mean, because like somebody who works in a company signed a contract, they were given, private information. Like, I'm not saying a hacker, it's like it's the company's fault that the hacker figured it out or stole it. But it definitely makes it worse if somebody gives you it in confidence and then you take advantage of it.
Confirmed and they are true.
Easier,
You're going to wonder how many companies do it just to make more money. And, because obviously companies aren't fucking... squeaky clean, as we all know. Some of them do break laws and do things that are illegal just to make more money. That is a thing that happens. And how many people are just rogue, under the radar, doing things like this, and essentially just slowly chipping away at the game that you're playing and ruining it over time. Okay, I don't know what that phone call was. Don't speak Thai, but apparently there's a delivery or something. Thanks for watching. Video description has like a bunch of links. You can click on them. There's a Discord. That's crazy. There's a Twitch. You can come watch me on there. Probably just playing BDO, talking about how the world is generally on fire and things are bad. Watching videos, you know, just having a grand old time grinding mobs on BDO for hours and hours on end. Twitter, X, all those things. You can send me suggestions on content you want to see me cover, anything like that. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.
This is a good video. Like, yeah, I didn't know about this at all. Holy fuck. As someone living in Korea, the dude's social life is basically over. He'll get like max 3 years. How many people live in South Korea? Yeah, how many people live in South Korea? Like, I have no idea. 4? 50? About 30. 12, at least 4. 5? 5. 60, people say 60 million? 30 million. Why does everyone care? Well, like, I'm curious that, like, you know, how, because, like, the more people are in a country, the harder it is for the country to have, like, a cohesive culture, right? I think that's, like, kind of, like, there's a bit of a correlation there. So, like, yeah, if it's 51 million people, I don't know. I mean, fuck, not true. I think there's probably a bit of a correlation. China's cohesive as fuck. China's also a totalitarian government, so I wouldn't use China as an example for anything really. But yeah, I mean, it's not like a massive country, right? And like China's got over 1 billion people, right? This is 50 million. This is like what is it? 1/20th of that? That's way less. So yeah, also like it's about how many different people like. I don't know. I don't live in Korea. I've never been there. I don't know like what their culture is, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this dude really fucked himself over by doing this. I'll link you guys the video. It's a Kira TV video. This is a W. I would have never heard of this if he hadn't made a video about it. 51 million people live in Korea. That's South Korea only, right? Not like South Korea and what do you call it? South Korea and North Korea. Yeah, most East Asian countries are cohesive. Yeah, it seems that way to me. But like again, you know, what seems a certain way based off of my, you know, looking at tweets. What the fuck do I know, right? But yeah, a game publisher apologizing in a not half-assed or condescending way. What is this rare unicorn? Well, it's because it fucks with their money. That's why. See, like the game directors and like game publishers, they care a lot if it fucks with their money. And if you have somebody like this that damages the integrity of the game, it fucks with your money. And that's why they're going to get upset about it, and that's why they're going to get pissed. So, of course, that's going to happen. Of course, they're going to be very, you know, they're apologetic about it and everything like that. Either way, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's kind of fucking sad to see this happen. And, yeah, if I was a player, I'd be fucking pissed, too.